right, time for another real quick 3-minute office meeting for today, September the 30th. Today is the last day of the old RPA, so the residential purchase agreement. If you're selling houses tomorrow, we have a brand new agreement. I want to address the big change in it that's going to really affect your clients both on the buyer and seller side. Really, the biggest change you're going to find, the two biggest changes are this. Number one, the way the due diligence is handled and the way the repairs are handled are the two biggest differences. Now let's talk about repairs first because it's pretty simple. They've eliminated the line where you put in a predetermined value for maximum amount of repairs. It was always kind of silly because it said, even if here's the maximum amount of repairs, you still reserve the right as the buyer to renegotiate. So the line was always kind of silly anyway, but now there is no line. So that's going to open the door and make sure you inform your sellers that now there really isn't a cap that you can think about when you go back and say, hey, look, we're not going to fix these, but you asked for $500 in their contract, so we're just going to give you the $500. So it's actually going to have, you're probably going to have to negotiate a little harder toward the end of the deal. Now, let's talk about the big change, which is how the due diligence is handled. The due diligence is now split up into 3 different sections. It talks about applying for the new loan, it talks about the appraisal contingency, and it talks about the loan contingency. Prior to this RPA coming out, we all know you could wait till the last day of escrow and say, oh, our loan got denied for whatever reason. Now, then you could cancel escrow and get the money back for the buyer. Those days are long gone. It's great protection for the seller, but you've got to be really smart with the buyer. First thing I like to say is we're working diligently with Back Agent to get our system changed to update these 3 dates that will then remind you on your calendar, automatically synced with you, with your calendar to remind you when these dates are due. Now, it makes it very important that you work with a good lender. Now, my question is, the new standard we're using with our team is, if somebody says, oh, I already have a lender, I'm good, I don't need your lender, my first question to them is going to be, do you have your lender's cell phone number? If the answer to that question is no, if it's 1-800 through Rocket Mortgage or whatever else, they're opening themselves up to a potential problem. Because when you say that loan's got to be good with as far as the due diligence period, it's got to be good. And if they come back on the last day before close of escrow and say the loan's no longer good, well, now the seller can cancel and keep that earnest money. So keep that in mind. Now, how it breaks down is this. The first one says loan application. My advice says, I'm going to tell you should probably use about 7 days to say that they'll complete a full loan application and get that done. The next one is the appraisal contingency. You've got to limit how many days you're going to save till the appraisal will be back. Most of the time, we're going to put in about 21 just to give ourselves a little bit of cushion. If it's a VA, you may want to give them a little more cushion because VA appraisers do tend to take a little bit longer, maybe 24 days. Now, the last one is obviously going to be the most important, which is that fully underwritten loan approval. I try to push that thing out as far as I can, 21, 25 days. They can always try to counter it back, but don't get your client in a situation where they have 10 days to get a fully underwritten loan approval. Because we all know that your clients, or our clients, or everybody's clients, sometimes have a problem coming up with docs from CPAs or whatever else. So try to give yourself as much time as you possibly can to make sure that that gets in. Don't just go with the standard, 10 day, 10 day, 10 day with everything, because you're going to cost yourself and your clients a lot of money. So if you haven't familiarized yourself with it yet, go ahead and print out a copy. You can get it right from Transaction Desk. Read through it. Make sure you understand it. Make sure you know this, because the first time you see that document does not need to be when you actually are writing an offer for your client, because I promise you will look like a moron. And nobody wants that. So read the RPA, understand those changes. If you have any other questions, feel free to call me. It reads pretty simply. They limited some stuff down, so it makes it much, much easier. I don't think there's going to be an issue, but me and Gavin are always available if you do have questions about it. So that's it for me. Let's have a great weekend, and hopefully you go sell some real estate.